Hello everyone. Today's lesson, importing and exporting an SCS truck model object into Blender. Hi everyone. As the introduction tells you, this video we will try to remove the mystery surrounding importing and exporting SCS model objects into Blender. So this technique will apply to all models within American Truck Simulator or European Truck Simulator. Works the same. It's not hard to do, but if you skip a step or don't get all your textures right, it can cause you a huge headache, especially on exporting. So the way I'm going to approach this video, I'm going to start with the assumption that you know nothing about Blender, that you know nothing about modeling and American Truck Simulator. It's just like you're brand new. So I'm going to install everything on my computer as for the very first time, so you can follow along. So the first thing we need to do, we need to get all the programs and add-ons that we need to get in order to import model objects into Blender. So obviously we need to download Blender first. So if we open up our web browser, then we go to our search bar and we put in Blender. You want to go to the Blender Foundation. So this is where you're going to download your program at. So once you reach the Blender Foundation page, you do not want to download the latest edition of Blender, and that is because the SCS Blender tools were created to work with versions 3.2 through 3.6, and I think the latest edition version of Blender is 4 point something. So in order to get the previous versions, you have to scroll all the way down to the bottom, and then under download section over here you're going to see previous versions. Just click on that, and then in the title picture you want to click on download any Blender, and then you want to scroll down. And like I said, you can use Blender tools, works with anything from 3.0 all the way to 3.6, but the one that I always use and the ones that seem the most stable to me is this Blender 3.2. So that's the one that I'm going to download. So when you download Blender, there's several different ways you can install Blender, but for Windows I like to use the installation tool. So in order to use the installation tool, you got to get that Windows x64 MSI. So we'll click on that, and then we'll download the installation tool. Now once Blender is downloaded, we have to get the Blender tools from SCS. So in the search bar, just type in SCS modding wiki, and that will take you to the SCS page. Well, actually this link will take you to the SCS page where you can download the tools that you'll need. So when the page opens up, you just scroll down to the tools section and select tools, and one of the tools that you're going to need is this game archive extractor. So click to download on it, and you want to use the newest version, and that's link for version 1.55 plus. So click on it and it should download. Alright, go back. There's a few more tools that we need to get. Here's our SCS Blender tools. Select download, and right above the blue section here, you're going to find the latest release. This is for Blender versions 3.2 through 3.6. So click on that, and Blender tools download, and then go back, and now we need to download the conversion tools. So click download, Make sure you get the latest version. So link 2.20, this is for versions 1.55 and up. So we'll click on it and we download conversion tools. Now the program that allows you to import models into Blender is called ConverterPix Wrapper, and that is located on GitHub. So if you just type in ConverterPix Wrapper, it should take you where you can click on a link to GitHub, and here's your ConverterPix Wrapper. Alright, once you open the wiki page, over here on the right side of the page you're going to find the latest releases. So the latest release is version 2.3, so we'll click on that, and then we want to download the zip file, the ConverterPix Wrapper zip file right here, and we downloaded it. Alright, so now that we have everything that we need to install everything. So the first thing we need to install is our Blender. So unless you've changed where your downloads, they're going to be in your download folder. So if you select your folder here and go to downloads, you'll find the Blender 3.2.1 Windows installation, and just double click on that and this should install Blender. So we'll hit next. We will accept the licensing agreement and then select install. So it doesn't take long for Blender to install. It's actually a fairly small program. If you look at the size of it in megabytes, it's not that big. Okay, so now Blender's installed, so now we have to install all our tools. So in order to do that, go to your desktop and find your Blender icon and just open the program. Now once Blender opens up, it's going to look similar to this. Should look identical, but you should see this little pop-up here should show you what version you're running. And there are some settings that you can change if you want to, but I'd pretty much leave everything as it is. However, if you'll look over here on your collections tab, you'll see there's a camera and there's a light, and then you have a cube object, and I don't use any one of those. The camera and the light is for animation, and the cube, I'll just add whatever object I want if I was going to model something in Blender. So in order to delete it, you just click on it and hit delete, and that removes everything from your collection. Now we have to install our add-ons. If you'll go over here to edit, click on edit, go down to preferences, and then you want to go down to add-ons right here, select add-ons, and then you want to select install, and then you want to go to your downloads folder where you downloaded everything, and the first thing we're going to install is our Blender tools. So we find our SCS Blender Tools add-on, we'll click on it and then select install add-on. Alright, so here's our Blender Tools add-on. We need to select it or activate it. So we activate it by selecting this box, and we know it's activated because up here in our menu tab we can see we have SCS Tools up here. And then the second thing we need to install the ConverterPix Wrapper. So here is our ConverterPix Wrapper. We just click on it and we just select install. And once ConverterPix Wrapper installs, you have to activate it. you click on that box, but you also need to update your ConverterPix executable. So the only thing you need to do is just click on it, and if you look down here at the bottom, it'll tell you the ConverterPix file was updated. Alright, so we updated our executable for ConverterPix. And then we'll hit close. Now at this time, what I like to do, I like to save this, so every time I open up Blender, I don't have to go back and activate my Blender tools or my ConverterPix wrapper. So in order to save the startup file, select File, come down to Defaults, and over on the pop-up window it's going to say Save Startup File. Just select it, then make sure you select the Save Startup File, and then down here it'll tell you that startup file was saved. Alright, so now Blender is set up to import models, but we have to get our files. So there's like 1,000 ways you can set up your files. That's entirely up to you, but I'm just going to show you how I set up my files. So what I'll do, I'll create a folder, and I'll just simply call it game files. And then all the game files that I will need, and I'll get them straight from the American Truck Simulator game folder. In order to find it, I'll click on the files in my taskbar, go to File Explorer, and then you want to go to your root drive, or go to whichever drive you downloaded American Truck Simulator to, but in my case it's located on my C drive. So I'll click on it, and then I'll go and find the file that says Program Files x86. Open it, and scroll down until you find the file that says Steam. Click on it. Scroll down till you find another file that says Steam Apps. Make sure it's Steam Apps, not Steam. So we'll go Steam Apps, and then we'll go into the Common folder, and then we'll go into American Truck Simulator. So these are all our game files here. Alright, so now we'll open up our game file folder, and inside our game file folder I usually create another folder, and I'll usually put this is ATS version, let's see, 1.56, I think, which is the version I have. So ATS game version 1.56, and then I'll open it, and then I'll copy the base share, the base vehicle, and the def file. These 4 files here. And then I'll copy, make sure you copy, not cut, and then paste it into the version. Alright, so the next thing I do, I need to create different folders to put all these base files in. You don't have to create a folder for the def, but you do have to create each individual folders for the base. So before I do that, I need an extraction tool, because if you click on each one of these files, they won't open. And that's because they're locked up, and the only way you can unlock them is if you use the extraction tool provided by SCS. So if we go back to our downloads folder, here is our SCS extraction tool. And normally I'll just click on it and then extract it to the download folder, and then it's going to create a folder called SES extractor 1-55. Go into that folder, and here's your extraction tool. So just copy it and place it in your game folder. Alright, so now we can start building our folders. So the first folder I'm going to build is going to be called base. So I'll create a new folder and I'll call it base. And then I'll select the base and just put the base in there, and then I'll copy the extraction tool and put that in the base. Now in order to use this extraction tool, the only thing you need to do is left click on the base and drag it until it says open with SES extractor and let go. And then this DOS window is going to appear. And when this DOS window appears, you're not going to see anything on it, and it's going to take quite a while to extract all those files. But be patient. Your computer's not locked up. The program hasn't failed. As soon as it extracts all the files, the DOS window will close. But do not close the DOS window. It will close on its own. Alright, so while I'm extracting all these files, I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through all this, and I'll come back with you in just a minute. Alright, welcome back. So I have all my files extracted. So if I go into base, I can see that I've got all my file folders extracted. And after that, you can go ahead and just delete the base. And then I've also created another folder called the base share, and I put the base share in there, and I'll go ahead and delete that. And then I created another folder called base vehicles, and I'll delete the DLC from there because here's all my files from the base vehicle. And then you'll notice that when you extract the def will create its own folder, so you don't have to make that folder. If you make it, then you'll open it up and you'll have another def folder in here. So don't create a def folder, it'll do it on its own. So I'll just delete it, and I'll leave this SES extraction tool because I'll be using it some more. So now we need to determine which model we're going to import into Blender. So if we go back to our game files, let's say that I want to model the Peterbilt 389. So I'll click on it and I'll copy it and I'll place it into my game folder. And then what I'll do, and it's very important that you understand, you need to keep all your files organized. It's a whole lot easier to do modeling because you'll be working with a lot of files, and the better organized you are, the easier everything's going to be. So I'm going to create a new folder and just call it trucks. And then I'm going to move that DLC into trucks, and then I'm going to create another folder and call it Peterbilt 389. And then I'll move the DLC into it, and then I'll copy this extraction tool. Now it doesn't take as long for you to unpack trucks. They're fairly quick. So once the truck is unpacked, I'll delete that DLC also. Now one thing that you're required to do before you can import a model object into Blender is it has to be located in an archive, which means it has to be zipped up. So I use WinRAR, but you can use any zip program. But in this video, everything that I do will be using WinRAR. WinRAR is a free program. I think they give you 30 days, and then after 30 days they want you to pay for it, and so you'll get kind of like a message every time you try to use it to please pay for it, but it will still work. You just, after 30 days, you just get that little message. I went ahead and bought it so I didn't have to see that message all the time. It wasn't very expensive. I can't remember exactly how much it cost, but that's what I use. So the way you put it back into an archive is you just select every file, and then I right click, go to WinRAR, and hit add to archive. And then it will only read a zip or a SCS extension on it. So select zip, and then out of habit, and I always do it, so I'm just going to do it here, I just change the file extension to SCS and hit OK. Alright, so now we have our archive back. So now that we can import a truck into Blender. So if we go back to our Blender program and we go up here to File, go to Import, and make sure you pick Converter Pics. Okay, so SCS Models Converter Pics, click on it, and then you can go to where your archive is. So in this case, we put it on the desktop and we put it under game files, and then we put it under trucks, Peterbilt 389, and here is our archive. So we select archive and we go to import, and we select import, and then this will allow you, if you were doing it from a DLC, which you can do, it allows you to see inside that blocked file, but in this case that file's not blocked, but the files are the same. So we just go to vehicle, truck, Peterbilt 389, and then we go to the truck PMG and we hit OK. And the first thing you're going to see is we got an error, and the reason we got an error is because we did not provide Blender a base file. So if you look over under our settings and we come up to the SCS project base path, you can see that we have nothing selected here and it's all red. You cannot import a model into Blender if you do not have a base path selected. So we do have to create a base file. So in order to create a base file, and it's fairly easy, we'll just create another folder on our desktop and we'll call it truck mod. So inside this truck mod, we're just going to create another folder and we're going to call it base. Alright, and the base folder is going to be completely empty. We just need to have a folder called base. So now if we go back to our Blender, and over on the far right you're going to see a folder icon. Click on that folder icon, and we need to go back to our desktop, and we need to go to our mod folder that we just made. It says truck mod, and then we need to go inside that base file and then hit select SCS project directory. Alright, so now we have a base file. It's no longer red. So let's see if we can import our truck now. So if we go file, import, and make sure we select converter pics again, and then we'll go to our Peterbilt 389 archive, hit import, and then it's going to go back to the last place you left off. So that's why it's in this folder here. So we just select the truck PMG and we hit OK. So now you can see that it's going to import that truck into Blender. Alright, so we got some errors and we got some warnings. So let's look at the errors first. So the first errors is it says it cannot find this vehicle reflection in the environment folder, and we can't find this glass exe, and we can't find this glass int, and we can't find this wpass. And then under our warning summaries, it says you can't, there's a flip flake flavor detected in material mat 001 color AO, and it's just going to ignore it. And then it's saying you can't have an OX5, OX6, OX7, OX8 in this color AO, and it's going to ignore it. Now these warnings are pretty common on older trucks, and that's because SES no longer uses these OX. So the Blender tools don't support it, and it's just going to ignore it. So don't worry about these warning summaries, especially if you see the OX5, OX6, OX7, and OX8. But as long as it's not a missing texture, and that's what you're looking for, a missing texture. As long as it's not a missing texture, you'll be all right. But we do have 4 missing textures from our truck. So if we close that, and if you are new to importing a truck into Blender, I'm going to explain what you're seeing here. So whenever you import a new model into Blender, it's going to show you everything associated with that model. These brown blocks are your collision blocks, and collision blocks tells the game where your hard points are. So let's say that you're going into traffic and you run into the back of a car or back of another truck. This collision box at the front here is going to say that, hey, this is where my truck hard point is. So when this hard point hits the back of that truck, it's going to, depending on how hard you hit it, it's going to be impact. If you didn't have this here, you would just go right through that other model. So these brown blocks are the hard points. This what allows you to knock over signs or hit other vehicles. So anything that is a hard point on that truck that can hit something will be covered with a collision block. Now this white rectangle underneath the truck, this is a fake shadow, and this displays a fake shadow on the road as the truck is traveling. And then you can see your model locators. These look like these little arrows, like right here. These are model locators, and they'll be all over the truck because this tells SES where to place like your radiator grill, where to place your steps, where to place your tires. And the future videos we'll go in depth into these locators. But for right now, we want to see the truck model. So if you go up here to SES tools and you go to the visibility tools, this white box here will display all your model objects. So if you click on it, it takes away all your model locators and your collision blocks and your shadows, and just shows you the model. Now if you're looking at this model, it's just plain white. You don't see any texture at all. It's just kind of reminds me of a model car when I was a boy. They just came plain white plastic, and it was up to you to apply the paint to everything to make it look just like a real truck. We have to do the same thing here. We have to apply the textures to the truck to make it look like what you see in the game. So in order to do that, you hit Z as in zebra, and it'll bring up this like selection pie chart. just go to Material Preview and click on it, and then it's going to load all your textures in. Now if you'll notice, we have some pink textures, and that's telling you that there is something wrong with these textures and we need to fix them. If you don't fix them, this truck will never export out of Blender correctly. You'll always have errors. So we need to fix the pink textures. So if you can remember, we had an environmental texture that was missing, and then we had some glass textures that was missing, and we had a WPass texture that was missing. So what SES did, because the files were getting so big, instead of putting like all the glass textures into every single truck model DLC, it decided to put it into put a single texture into a file, and then all your truck DLCs will go to that one file to find that texture. So if you got 15 trucks, you don't have to have 15 different textures in each truck DLC. You can just have one folder to find that texture. So in this case, it's going to be in this base vehicle folder. So what we need to do, we need to go into this base vehicle folder, and we need to go to vehicle, and we need to find the truck folder. And what we're going to do, we're going to copy that truck folder, and we are going to place it into our Peterbilt 389 folder. So we go to vehicle, we just paste the truck, and then it's going to marry those two files together. Alright, so this should clear your errors for your glass, and it should clear the errors for your WPass. And then we had a material problem. So if we go to this base, and we come down here to material, then we select this environment folder. So most everything concerned the truck is going to be in this environment. So we'll click on it and we'll copy it, and we'll also put that in the truck folder too. Alright, so now we have the environment in there, but remember we got two base files. We got a base and a base share, so we have to make sure that we get the environment folder from the base share. So here's our base share, and we open it, and here's our material folder, and then here's another environment, so we got to copy it, and we need to put that in our Peterbilt folder. And then we'll marry those two files together. Okay. And then if you look at Blender, one of the things you'll notice is missing this unit hookup, and it's missing this materials database file. Now these other files is for different things like signs, traffic rules, trigger actions, things like that. But for the purpose of truck mods, the only things you really need is this unit hookup file and this material database file. So what you need to do is we go back to our base. Alright, so here's our base file, and we go to material, and if you scroll down to the bottom, you're going to find that material database file. Click on it, and you want to copy it to your truck mod base, because that's where Blender is looking for all your files at, is that truck mod. So if we open it and we go to base, notice we don't have a material folder, so we'll create one. So we'll go new folder, we'll go material, and then we'll place that database file inside that material. And then that other one that we need is the unit. So we'll look for the unit, and because the base doesn't contain any vehicle files, you're not going to find it in the base, so you don't see the unit. Whoops, I'm sorry, nope, I apologize. There is a unit, so we'll just copy it. Yep, we do need to copy it, so we'll just copy that whole unit folder, and we'll go back to our truck mod, and we'll go back to our base, and we'll paste that unit. Now we do have that vehicle share, so we will also need to take the unit from that too. So we have this base vehicles folder, so when we open that, we have another unit folder, and we need to copy that and marry those two files together. Okay, so now what we need to do, we need to import. Well, first of all, you'll notice that your hookup library is black now, and you'll notice that your materials database is black now, and that's because we've got those two files in the right place. So now we need to make sure that these textures files are correct. So what we'll do, we'll just start a new canvas, and the way you do that, you go to File, you go to New, and then you select General. Don't save, and that's going to give you a new blank canvas. So what I'll do, I'll import that truck again and see what kind of errors I get, if any. So I go to Import, make sure I pick Converter Picks, then I go to Peterbilt 389, and here is my 389, and I'll select Import, and then I'll select the truck. And let's see if our errors are gone. No, we still have the errors. And if we go to our visibility tool and we select our materials tab, you see they're still pink. And the reason that these didn't clear is because I did not create a new archive. So if you'll remember, the only way Blender Converter Picks can read the truck model is it has to go through the archive. So we didn't create a new archive once we married the file folders together. So if we go back to trucks and go back to the Peterbilt, we didn't create a new archive for 389. We did put the correct files in here, but because we're still reading from this old archive, it's not working. So what we need to do, we need to delete that, and then we'll just create a new archive. And once we have that new archive, we can go back into Blender, and we'll see if we got the texture fixed. So we go to File, Import, Converter Picks. We'll go to Peterbilt 389, and we'll import that truck again. And we shouldn't have any more of those texture warnings now. Alright, so all our texture problems are gone. We still have these these warnings for things missing in some of our texture files, but like I said, these are not going to cause you any issues. So we'll just close that. Now let's see if our pink is gone. So we'll go to SES tool, we'll display our truck objects, and we'll display our materials, and now everything looks right. We have no pink. So all of our textures are right, and you have successfully imported a truck into Blender without any errors, without any texture errors. Alright, so that's part one. Part two, we still have to export. So if you get a truck imported into Blender, the exporting part, well, actually, let me go back. If you get the truck imported into Blender without any errors, exporting the truck out of Blender shouldn't be an issue. So in order to export the truck, go over here to where you see this. It looks to me like a printer. I'm not sure what it is, but it says output properties. Just click on it and you scroll down, and notice you have this red bar here. It's looking for your conversion tools, but it can't find it. So if you click the icon, the folder icon to the far right, and you scroll to your downloads folder where your conversion tools is located, here's your conversion tools. If you click on it and you hit accept, nothing. It doesn't work. It's still red. And the reason why it doesn't work is because your conversion tools is still in a zip file. So we'll go to downloads. Here's your conversion tools. Your conversion tools can't be in a zip file. Not like your ConverterPix wrapper and your Blender tools. Your conversion tools has to be extracted. So what we'll do, we'll just cut that, and we'll create another folder on our desktop, and we'll just call these, you can call it about anything. Normally I just call it Blender tools. And then under Blender tools, we'll paste the conversion tools, and remember we have to extract it. So we'll extract it. So now we have a folder called conversion tools. So we go back to Blender, and we hit that folder icon, and we'll go to our desktop, and we'll look for Blender tools. And here it is. And then we need to select conversion tools, and you can just keep hitting accept until it loads it in. So now the conversion tools is good. Now all we need to do is direct it to our base. So this can be any folder that you want to send it to. So let's say that I want to create a new folder just for my truck mod. So this is I'll say Peterbilt edit. Alright, so this is where all my edited files is going to go to, this Peterbilt edit. So if I go back into Blender and I select that folder path, I click it on the folder, and I'll go to desktop, and I'll look for the folder Peterbilt edit right here. Alright, so now that's where it's going to export to, and then my mod name is going to be Peterbilt test export. And then I'm going to leave it into a zip file. And then down here at the bottom, I don't select clean, I just select export and convert. And then once that's done, I just select pack mod. Now let's see what happens. You're going to see a DOS window. It's going to pop up here. It's telling you it's packing everything up. And once that DOS window closes, you'll get that packing was done, and you have successfully exported that model out of Blender. So now if we go back to our Peterbilt edit, you're going to find that zip file. You just open up that zip file, extract everything. And here is your exported truck model right here. And it's going to export all your files for that truck model. So it's going to export your automat file, your material file, your unit file, and your vehicle file. So if you go in this vehicle file, you're going to find your textures. So here's all your textures that was used, and any new textures that you made will be in this folder. And you'll notice that they've all been converted back to the hexadecimal format. If you go back to your base, let's close that out. If you go back to your base, whenever you imported that model into Blender, it automatically exported your texture files into your base folder. So if we go back to the truck mod and we go back to base, if we look in this vehicle folder and we'll go to the same place, here's all our textures. If you click on this, you'll notice that these are in your ASCII2 format. Just a plain editable notepad. Now, another common problem that I see, if you have issues with exporting a truck, if you have any hexadecimal files in your base, it will not export. So you got to make sure that any files that you have located in your base are in the ASCII2 format. Alright, and the other problem that I see a lot, especially if you try to work on older type mods, is if you are missing a texture and you have the TOBJ there, it will not export. So let me show you. So if I take this chassis and I just delete it, just that one simple thing, and I come back here and I tried to export it, let me delete this first. Alright, we try to export this truck again. Let's see if we get an error this time. Alright, so our DOS block came up, and you'll see that it will not export. It tells you to press any key to continue. And the reason why it will not export is because it'll tell you the vehicle truck Peterbilt 389 chassis.dds is missing. I mean that texture file is missing. So it says hit any key to exit, so we'll just hit enter, and then it'll tell you that the 389 chassis DDS used in the TOBJ doesn't exist. Alright, so that's one error that I see a lot. So now we need to put that chassis back. So let's see, we'll go back to our, not our truck model, we gotta go back to our game file, and we'll go back to our original Peterbilt 389, because that we know that the file's going to be here. So we'll copy that chassis DDS and that chassis TOBJ, and we'll copy those, and we'll put it back in our truck mod base file. And it's going to ask if we want to replace it, and we'll say yep, let's replace that file. Alright, now let's see if we can export this truck. Alright, so we select pack mod. We look for our DOS box to pop up down here, which it will in a second. And so our DOS box has popped up. And look, it stopped again. It failed. Now I don't know if you caught it, but the reason why it failed, so first of all, let me close this. The reason why it failed is because of this chassis TOBJ. So remember when I told you there cannot be any hexadecimal files in your base. So if you look at this one, this is a ASCII2 file, but I copied in this chassis TOBJ, which is in the hexadecimal format. So as long as this is in the hexadecimal format, you can't export it. So that's why it failed on the export that time. You have to so what we'll do, we'll delete that. We'll delete the file, and sometimes what I'll do, I'll just create me another TOBJ file. And we'll just call that chassis. Dang, I think I accidentally deleted my texture. Alright, so let me copy that over. Alright, so inside this chassis, I need to change it. Now, it's not generally good because this gives you kind of some information on how it wants that texture to look. So if you're going to copy and change your path like this, and make sure that the TOBJs are identical. Don't just select one. But for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to create a TOBJ that's in the ASCII2 format so that I can export my model. So let's try to export it again, and this time it should export because now I don't have any hexadecimal files in my base. And I'm still looking for this to go away. Did it go away? No, it did not. So why didn't it go away? Alright, so some of the things that we can check is do we have a file that's in hexadecimal format? I don't think I do. Alright, so if you can't find let me go back here. Let me go back here to the DOS. If you can't find what's wrong, and oh, okay, I see what I misspelled the chassis. So CHASSI is missing the S on the DDS. So that's what happened. Alright, so if I go into my TOBJ, alright, that's Hexa, that's not the right folder. We gotta go into truck mod. That's base. So go back to vehicle, Peterbilt. Alright, so we got chassis here and chassis there. But what we did, we missed the S here. We misspelled it. So this one little misspelled word kept it from exporting. Alright. So I got alright, so what alright, so now what happened is I didn't close that DOS block correctly. I just hit the X on it. So you got to make sure when you have that DOS box up and it says press enter key to close, that you press enter in any key. Don't hit the X on it, because if you close it with the X, this is what's going to happen. It's going to kind of fault your blender out. And there's really, once you get to this stage here, there's really nothing you can do except just hit exit and close the program and restart it. So we'll just restart Blender. Now if that happens to you, not all is lost. If you come up here to File and you go to Recover, don't go to the auto save, go to the last session. Nope, I'm sorry, I told you wrong. Go to File, Recover, and then go to your auto save, not last session. If you go to last session, generally doesn't work right. Go to auto save, and then you can just select the last auto save, and that brings up your truck. But notice we got some errors. So it doesn't always work, but if you've done a lot of work and Blender crashes, it's worth a shot. So what we'll do now, we'll just import that truck again. Oh, I see what happened. Okay, because Blender basically crashed on me, it didn't save my startup file, so I have to, you can see that SCS Tools is missing up here. And so now I've just got to reactivate those tools. So go to File, no, it's Edit, Preferences, then we'll go to Add-ons, and we've already installed the tools, they're just not active. So if you go to the search and just hit SCS, you should be able to find the tools. But it did not. So we lost the install too. So let's go to Install. Go back to our Downloads folder, and we want to install the add-on tools. And then we want to install the Converter Pix wrapper. And then let's see if we can find them. Here they are. Make sure they're activated. Then we need to make sure our executable okay, so we've updated our executable. I see the SCS tools up here. Now let's import that truck again. So we'll just import that truck. We don't have the project base path. You can still see it's red here, so we'll cancel that out. So let's install our base again, and we've had that on desktop. Let's see, truck mod base. Alright, so now our base is installed. We'll import converter pics. We want Peterbilt 389, Peterbilt 389, vehicle, truck, Peterbilt 389, truck. Alright, so we still don't have any of the errors, so that's good. So now let's see if we can export that truck without any errors. So we go back to this printer. We may have to install our conversion tools again. So we'll go back to conversion tools. I think we put that on desktop. Blender tools. Conversion tools, accept. Yeah, we had that under, what did we put that under? Peterbilt edit, there we go. Mod name, we're going to call this Peterbilt edit. And then we're going to leave it in zip, and then we're just going to hit pack mod. Let's see if we can export this without any errors. One thing to note, right up here where it says object mode, make sure that you're in object mode when you try to export. If you're in edit mode, whatever part that you have selected in edit mode will not export. So just to be on the safe side, just make sure that you're always in object mode when you export. And you can see we exported. We don't have any errors. We should have zip file and the files to our mod. Alright, so I know that was a pretty long video, but I wanted to make sure that you saw some of the common errors that I see and how to fix them. Just be really careful. Some things that I want to drive home is you have to select a base folder before you can import a model into Blender. That's one. Converter pics will only work with a model that is inside an archive. It will not work if you go and select a PIM like the old way did. It has to be inside an archive. If you change any of the folders from that archive, make sure that you create another archive to get your model from with all the new files in it. And that's for importing. For exporting, make sure that you do not have any files that are in hexadecimal format in your base. Make sure that all the texture files are located in your base. And then last, make sure that you use the automat file for your mod that you exported from Blender, because that's going to, they might have some changes in there to your automat. So make sure that you always update your automat files. And that's about it. If you like this video, please smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out a lot. If you didn't like the video, please leave a comment below what I could have done better. That's it for today. I'm Mark Brower from Mark's Modeling Studio, and class is dismissed.